Precise praise. Make your positive reinforcement strategic. Differentiate between acknowledgement and praise. Whereas positive framing focuses on how you make constructive or critical feedback feel motivating, caring, and purposeful to the recipient, precise praise is about managing positive feedback to maximize its focus, benefit, and credibility. As the examples in the table here suggest, positive tone is important with praise too. Positive feedback can be destructive if the tone is sarcastic, for example. Avoiding sarcasm is important, but there's a lot more to getting the most out of positive reinforcement than that. Although it might seem like the simplest thing in the world, positive reinforcement helps students more if it's intentional, and you must constantly defend against the potential for it to become empty or disingenuous through overuse. In the end, positive reinforcement is one of the most powerful tools in every classroom, and there's a lot more to it than merely heeding even the oft-repeated advice to praise 3 times as often as you criticize. To get the most out of positive reinforcement, try these rules of thumb for precise praise. Reinforce actions, not traits. Positive reinforcement is clearly about an action that has just occurred. A student does something well, and you tell her that she's done a nice job. At its best, positive reinforcement is also about the future. You don't just want a student to feel good about having done something correctly. You want to help her understand how to succeed again the next time. Even more deeply, you want to reinforce a way of thinking about learning that embraces struggle and adversity, relishes it even. Carol Dweck's seminal research on this topic, discussed in her book Mindset, has shown that in the long run, people who have a growth mindset far outpace those with a fixed mindset. Her research suggests that the difference is one of the strongest predictors of success. People with a fixed mindset see intelligence and skill as something static. You're smart or you're not. You're good at something or you're not. People with a growth mindset see intelligence and skill as fluid. You work hard and you get better. Smart isn't what you are, it's what you do. Individuals with a fixed mindset see a challenge and think, oh no, this is going to be difficult. Individuals with a growth mindset see a challenge and think, oh boy, this is going to be difficult. Dweck finds that praise is central to the development of mindset. If students are praised for traits, for example, you're smart, they become risk-averse. They worry that if they fail, they won't be smart anymore. If students are praised for actions, for example, you worked hard, and look, they become risk-tolerant because they understand that the things within their control, their actions, determine results. It's critical, then, to praise actions, not traits, and further, to carefully identify actions that students can replicate. You are praising them in part to help them see the inside of the success machine. The more actionable the thing you reinforce, the more students can replicate their success. Go back and look at your draft, Maria. See those crossouts and rewrites? That's why your final draft is so strong.
Which table group is ready? I don't know, let me begin. I noticed that they didn't make a lot of noise when they were choosing their first shape. They made sure that everyone had an opportunity. So I see Darnell and Jala and Olivia and Chinyere. They've already gotten their first shape. They put it right up against that line of symmetry and began to trace it. I already see Sean. He's already flipped his shape over to make the mirror image. That's awesome. Let's see it, scholars. I want to see at least 4. That means you could do 5, you could do 6, you can do 7, whatever you can fit on that line.
Offer objective aligned praise. Of course, praising, or positively reinforcing, actions means calling out things like hard work and diligence, but some of the best teachers I've observed align their praise to learning objectives. Suppose students are working on including strong transitions in their writing. As you circulate and observe, you specifically reinforce those who have used transitions, or, better, those those who have gone back and added to or revised their transitions to make them better. Perhaps you even use a show call, in technique number 39, to show off their work. Scholars, look up here. This is Melanie's paper. Look at this paragraph. She included a solid transition, but then she went back and revised it to make it capture the contrast between the paragraphs more clearly. Now her paper really holds together. That's how you do it. Great work, Melanie. Now, not only does Melanie know what was behind her success, not only does she understand that success is determined directly by her own actions, but the rest of the class sees it too. Differentiate acknowledgement from praise. Acknowledgement is what you often use when a student meets your expectation. Praise is what you use when a student exceeds expectations. An acknowledgement merely describes a productive behavior, or perhaps thanks a student for doing it without adding a value judgment and with a modulated tone. Praise adds judgment words like great or fantastic, or the kind of enthusiastic tone which implies that such words might apply. Thanks for being ready, Marcus, is an acknowledgement. Fantastic insight, Marcus, is a praise. Marcus is ready is an acknowledgement. Great job, Marcus, is praise. Distinguishing the two is important, as reversing some of the examples will demonstrate. If I tell Marcus it's fantastic that he's ready for class, I suggest that this is more than I expect from my students. Ironically, in praising the behavior, I tell my students that standards are pretty low and that perhaps I'm a bit surprised that Marcus met my expectations. Perhaps they aren't expectations at all. Either way, praising students for merely meeting expectations may reduce the degree to which they do over the long run. It also makes your praise seem cheap. When Marcus writes a powerful response to a piece of literature and you call it fantastic, you will be describing it in a manner on par with how you described coming to class on time, and this may perversely diminish his accomplishment. In the long run, a teacher who continually praises what's expected risks trivializing both the praise and the things she really wishes to label great, eroding the ability to give meaningful verbal rewards and to identify behavior that is truly worthy of notice. In short, save your praise for when it is truly earned, and use acknowledgement freely to reinforce expectations.
Two, one. So good morning, class.
Good morning.
We'll be talking today about Emerson's Self-Reliance, which you've read on your own independently. So I just want to dive right into it. So this was an early text of Emerson's, early on in his career, published in 1841, but based on sermons that he delivered for a number of years prior to that. So he'd been working this around the time that he was working on Nature, which you already read. So how does this document comprise some of the crux of what transcendentalism means? I turn to you.
Wonderful. Nicely done. That's specifically wonderful because your comments were precise. You had prepared for this text, you had triple-checked the text, and you had your pieces of argumentation ready. That's why you weren't scared by anything that I said today. Kudos.
A bit of public praise can be powerful. You stop the class to read Shanice's sentence aloud and say to the class, now that is how a strong active verb can give muscles to a sentence. People can't replicate it if they don't know about it, so that's one clear benefit to public praise. In addition, The fact that you thought Shanice's work was so good that everybody should hear will make your words memorable to her. But they will stand out more if all praise is in public. Part of what's powerful about the public delivery is that it's a bit unexpected. So it can also be powerful to walk up to Shanice and whisper, "Now that is a strong active verb. It sounds like you wrote this for a college paper." In fact, you capture the greatest benefit by delivering positive reinforcement using an unpredictable variety of settings and volumes. Among the benefits of private praise is that it often sounds especially genuine to the listener because, implicitly, it is private, and therefore only about her, as opposed to public praise, which is also about those who hear it and your desire for them to observe and possibly replicate what the student you're praising has done. The power of pulling Shanice aside as she enters the classroom and saying, "I just wanted to tell you that I graded your exam last night and yours was really outstanding," may be equal to or even greater than your public recognition of her work. When a teacher takes a moment to speak to a student privately, she intimates that what she is going to say to that student is very, very important. And this raises the question, what could be so important? To find that it is a response to your excellent work is both powerful and unexpected for a student. One further benefit of private praise is that it creates uncertainty and additional privacy around all private interactions, and this is immensely productive. If all of my private and quiet conversations with a student were critical, that is, they were all private individual corrections, students might become defensive upon my approach. Further, other students might be motivated to eavesdrop, knowing that listening in might provide them with the juicy details of a classmate's misfortune. Most people can't help but be curious about such things. If, however, my approach or leaning down to speak quietly with a student is just as likely to be an example of private individual precise praise, or PIPP as discussed in Chapter 11, then students will consider the approach with balanced equanimity, and their classmates will have no incentive to eavesdrop. Either message is thus heard more openly by the intended recipient and ignored by those for whom it's not intended. That said, there are also benefits to loud praise and praise that's semi-private, that is, deliberately intended to be overheard by others. Praise always walks the line between the benefits of allowing others to overhear what's praiseworthy and thus encouraging them to seek to emulate it, and the benefit of genuine sincerity of it just being about the recipient. In terms of how to balance these benefits, my sense is that both are more powerful if they aren't entirely predictable, and that although socializing and influencing others through praise are beneficial, they're less critical than the long-term benefit of maintaining the credibility and genuineness of praise. I would skew toward privacy a bit more for the most substantive feedback.